That was the first time I met Aya. It was the beginning of my second year of high school, in a small town where everything stayed the same. The streets, the buildings, the way people greeted each other, nothing ever changed. But that year, something did. A girl with short black hair, quiet eyes, and a sketchbook always tucked under her arm transferred into my class. Aya. She wasn't the kind of person who stood out. She didn't laugh loudly or talk too much. In fact, at first, most people didn't notice her. But I did. I noticed the way she sat at the edge of the room near the window, always sketching, always observing. There was something different about her, something calm, like the eye of a storm. I didn't talk to her for the first few weeks. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. I was the kind of guy who never got in trouble, never raised his hand in class, never stood out. But something about her presence made me want to be a little braver. One rainy afternoon, everything changed. School had ended, and most of the students were rushing home to avoid the rain. I stayed behind to clean the classroom, as part of my weekly duty. When I finished and walked outside, I saw her, Aya, sitting under the awning by the gate, sketchbook open, eyes fixed on the falling rain. "You didn't bring an umbrella either?" I asked without thinking. She looked up, surprised, then smiled softly. "I like the rain." That was the first real conversation we had. We ended up walking home together, sharing my soaked hoodie over both our heads. I learned she'd moved to our town because of her parents' divorce. That she missed her old friends but liked how quiet our school was. She told me her dream was to become an illustrator. And just like that, I was falling. Not fast, not the way books or movies show it, no fireworks, no dramatic music. Just a slow, steady warmth that started growing every time we talked, every time she smiled, every time I heard her voice. We started spending more time together. Sometimes we'd study in the library. Sometimes we'd go to the park and she'd sketch while I read. I'd never been that close to anyone before. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of being seen. But love, especially first love, isn't always simple. By the time winter came, rumors had started. "Are you two dating?" Classmates would ask. Some teased us. Some weren't so kind. One day, Aya came to school with tears in her eyes. Someone had taken her sketchbook and drawn cruel things on the pages, mocking her art, her dreams, her quietness. She didn't come to school for 2 days after that. When she returned, she looked different. Not physically, but like something inside her had shut down. She stopped drawing during lunch. She stopped meeting me after school. I tried talking to her, but she always smiled and said, "I'm just tired." I didn't know what to do. I felt helpless, like I was watching someone drown while standing on the shore. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I went to the bookstore and bought a new sketchbook. Inside the first page, I wrote, "For Aya, whose art is her voice. Don't let anyone silence you." I left it on her desk after class, without signing my name. The next day, she was waiting for me after school. Her eyes were glassy, but she was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in weeks. "Thank you," she whispered. We didn't say much after that. We just walked, side by side, in comfortable silence. Like nothing had to be explained. Spring arrived, and with it, the end of the school year. Aya told me her mother got a job offer in another city. They were moving again. It felt like my chest caved in. On her last day, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a sketch, a boy standing in the rain, holding out his hoodie to shelter a girl who was smiling up at him. Underneath, she'd written, "You were my first friend. My first safe place. My first love." We hugged. No promises. No dramatic goodbye. Just one last look, the kind that says everything words can't. She left the next morning. I haven't seen Aya in years. But every time it rains, I think of her. Every time I pass the park, I imagine her sitting there, sketchbook in hand. And I smile, because first love doesn't always last, but it always matters. It teaches us to open up, to feel, to grow. It reminds us of the beauty of small moments and quiet courage. It shows us who we are, and what we're capable of. And sometimes, that's enough. End of story. Message for learners. This story is more than just about young love, it's about kindness, resilience, and emotional connection. As you improve your English, remember that language is not just about grammar or vocabulary, it's about expressing feelings, understanding others, and connecting through stories. So keep listening, keep feeling, and most importantly, keep going.